Hey everyone, it's Kabir here. So we have done two sessions on HTML, CSS, JavaScript and the Bootstrap. So we have started with the HTML, right guys? So in first session, we have learned something about what is HTML, what is CSS and why we have to use the HTML, why we have to use the CSS and all that. And we saw some set of tags, right? In session 1 and the session 2. So let's begin with the session 3. So we are going to start today session 3. So we have to understand some more sets of HTML. So once we have learned some sets of HTML tags, then we are going to create one project based on the tags what we have learned, right? But to do that project, still we have to learn little bit more tags. So today we are going to understand about text formatting tags. What are text formatting tags? Now the question is, what is text formatting tags? Now sometimes whenever you are going to develop a website or whenever you are seeing some websites, you are able to see some paragraphs, right? You are able to see some content which is in the paragraph format. And you might observe that some letters like or some words might be in the bold format, or some sentence might be in a bold format, right? You may see some sentence or a word in italic format. So one more thing like italic format, and some sentences you might see like underlined, which you feel like, okay, this is an important word, so I have to underline. So you might have seen in some websites some words or sentences they have underlined, right? Underlined format, I can say. And in some websites you might have to write the equations like a square plus b square, right? Now we cannot write here a square plus b square. Now it becomes something like a2 plus b2, but we don't want something like that. A should be like this two should be superscript to this a, like for that such things we are going to call as superscript, right? So and in some scenarios you might get to write chemical equations like H2O, which represent water, right? H2O, you have to write H2O, but now in this case 2 should come down of your H, like we can say it as subscript. Okay, this is how few things we get requirement when we are going to develop some web pages. So how can we perform such operations or such text formatting in the HTML? We have to know. So for that purpose also, HTML people gave us some tags. So for bold, they gave a tag called P tag. P represent bold. For italic, they gave the tag known as I, right? For underline, they gave the tag U. Now, if you want to write some equations like a square, which should be the superscript, for that they give a tag called SUP. And in the same way for subscript, they give the tag called SUB. And sometimes you get the requirement to strike out some sentences like we are going to say in some programming languages, when you are going to use some particular method or something, you will see whenever you are going to use that, you are going to see some strike on that particular method. And that strike for that particular method represents this particular method is going to deprecate in your future versions. Like we have used the center tag and it was coming in the red color, right? In the same way, when you comes to JavaScript, and if you are using any method which is going to deprecate in the future, that methods will come with the strike on that particular method name. Okay, if you want to strike any word or any sentences, for that we have one more tag called yes tag. Yes represent your strike. Okay, so let's see practically how can we implement. So for that we have to go to our folder known as HTML. Now I'm going to create here one more file known as 03, and I will be giving the name like text formatting, and the file extension should be .html. Okay, we have wrote. Now here we have one shortcut in Visual Studio Code. In VS Code, if you want the structure of HTML document, so for that we have one shortcut. What is that shortcut? You have to just write DOC, means document, DOC, and you have to click on tab button. You have to click on tab button. So now whenever you are going to click on the tab button, you are going to get the structure of your HTML document, right? Now, what is this meta tags we will be seeing in the further sessions. As of now, don't focus on it. So we don't require this. So just remove it. Yes, I have removed the meta tag. Now we know that in header tag, we have one tag known as title. And this tag is going to represent the title for your this particular document, right? So let me change the title from document. I want to say text formatting tags. So this is what the title of my document. Now we have the body tag, right? So whatever we are going to write inside this body tag, that is going to visual in your browser. That thing we have learned in the session 1 and as well as in session 2. So now here, just for practical purpose, just to check whether it is working properly or not, I'm going to write h2 tag and I'm going to say yes, working, right? Spelling is wrong. It's, yeah, now it's right. Now I say it's a working. So just I'm going to save it and just right click, and you are able to see the option open in default browser, or you can say open in other browser. As in my system, I have set default browser as your IE browser, but I don't want to use IE. I want to use some other. Then go to open other browser and click on your favorite browser. My favorite is absolutely your Chrome, Google Chrome. Okay, fine. We have opened, yeah, it is working, and we got some title like text formatting tags. So, okay, this is fine, it's working. Now, few people might not get this option. Whenever you are going to right click, you are not able to see these two options, right? So for that, what you have to do, you have to go to the extension. So this particular part is called extension tab, right? From here you can download so many extensions, right? In the same way, just go here, just click on this extension, and you have to search one extension known as open in browser. Okay, now whenever you are going to search this open in browser, if this particular extension is not installed in your VS Code, then you will get the option like here, like how you are getting open in browser, like install. In the same way, you are going to get one option called install. Just click on it and install it. Once you have installed, then you are going to get this option, open in default browser or open in other browser, right? So that's the thing. So now let's start with our particular way. So I'm going to say this as a text h1. This is a h1, and I'm going to tell the title h1 as a text formatting tags. Okay, we have wrote. Now I want to use all the tags which is related to your text formatting. So let's go step by step. Let's first do let's go with the bold. Okay, with the bold tag. So for that, what I'm doing, I'm taking one div. Okay, I have took the div. Now here I'm going to take h2, and h2 will be like bold tag. Okay, now it means we are giving a title. Okay, it is representing a bold tag, and I want this this particular bold tag should be in the center. So for that, we have the tag known as center. Okay, I'm going to use the center, and it should be, everything should be in the center. So I'm going to close here our center. Okay, fine. Now my next requirement is I want to give some stylings to the div. So if you want to give some stylings, then you have to use a technology called CSS. So how can you use the CSS in HTML? For that, you have to use a tag called style. Okay, you are going to use the style tag. Now where the style tag should be present, it should be present in your header tag. So let's write first our style tag. Okay, I'm going to write style tag. Yes, I wrote the style tag. Now I took the div. Now I want to give some color to this particular div, right? So for that, first we have to write the div, and this particular thing is called selector. Selector means for which you want to give the stylings. So I want to give to this tag. Okay, I have wrote styling. Then how we have to write? We have to write the properties inside curly braces. Okay, I have wrote the curly braces. Now what styling you want? I want for styling, I want background color. So we know the background color, right? So let's write background color. What color you want to give? I want to give something like blue violet. Okay, fine, you have give. Now what you want more? I want to give the color text. Color text should be white because the background will come in blue violet. So I want to give the text of the color should be white. Okay, white. One more tag we are, sorry, one more property we know, that is padding. So I'm going to take padding equals to 10 pixel, and it's absolutely depends upon your requirement how much padding you want. I'm taking in every example as a 10 pixel. It doesn't mean that every time you have to take the 10 pixel. Now it depends upon your requirement. You want 5, you want 2, you want 20. That is all your choice, right? I took the padding as well, right? Now just save it, and before that let's write some content. Like I'm going to take p and I'm going to generate some content. So to generate some content, we have already installed an extension called lorem. Okay, so how we have to generate the content? Just write capital L and OREM, lorem, and how much words you want to generate. I want to generate some 50. Tap. So now save it. Once you have saved the document, just go to your browser and let's see whether it is reflecting or not. Open your browser. Already we have opened it, right? Just refresh it. Yes, we are able to see some text formatting tags, and we are able to see some bold tag, but this div is taking complete width of your browser. I don't want it to take a complete width. I want it to take some some amount of width. Like I want to restrict it. So for that we have a CSS property called width. So let's go to our CSS property and add one more extra property known as width. Okay, I'm adding the width, and I want to give something like 300 pixel. Okay, 300 pixel, and just save it. Come to a browser. Okay, we got something like this. See, the CSS property depends on totally on your requirement. Now I'm saying I want 300 pixel. Now you may say I need 500 pixel. There is no there is nothing wrong in that. You can go with the 500. Now it's absolutely depend upon your requirement how you want to style it, right? Now I give the background color like blue violet. You can give your wish, like you want someone like red, you can give red, or someone like some whatever XYZ type kind of color he can give, right? Now let's test the bold tag. Now this lorem is there, right? From this particular sentence, from lorem to up to this comma, I want it should be in the bold format. So for that, what we have to do, we have to keep that particular sentence in the b tag. So this is the lorem. So I'm going to keep b, and I'm going to just remove it, and I want this particular sentence should be in the b bold tag. So I'm closing bold tag and the save it, and come to your browser and refresh it. Now, once you have refreshed, now you are able to see this particular thing is in bold format. I hope it is visual. It is a bold format. So this is what we are going to use for the bold format. If you want something like from lorem to some this question mark, if you want in the bold, so you have to keep this all these particular lines in the b tag, inside a p tag. So that's very easy, right? So that's what we are going to do. Now let's go and see what is italic. Okay, so for that, what I'm doing, I'm just copying this particular thing and I'm gonna paste it, right? I'm gonna paste it. Now this time I'm gonna say it's a italic tag. Now, to represent some sentence or a particular word or a particular character as well, if in italic, then for that you have to keep that particular sentence in italic. So I'm just going to remove this B into I, and here as well I'm going to do some changes, like instead of B tag I'm writing the I tag. So I'm telling the browser, I'm giving the instructions to a browser with the help of tags, that I'm saying this particular sentence should be in italic format. Okay, save it and come to your browser and refresh. Okay, now again you are able to see the italic, and this is in the italic format. So just I'm gonna increase the size, and you are able to see this particular thing in the italic format. Okay, but now I want to separate this particular divs. To separate this div, we want some gap between this div. So for that, what I'm going to do, I have one more property in CSS called margin. Means it is going to give some margin to your particular div. So I'm saying margin should be some 10 pixel. Okay, save it, come to your browser and refresh it. Yes, you are able to see some gap. Now we got some 10 pixel margin from your left side, from your top, from your bottom. Now even from the top you got, see from the text we have some 10 pixel gap. So it is going to take 10 pixel gap from all the four sides. Okay, but now I don't want to give the same background color for both the divs. I want to give some different background color for the divs. So for that, what we have to do, what can we do? The first thing is, like, you have to give an attribute. What attribute? ID attribute. So I'm going to use ID attribute, and I'm going to say it's bold. Okay, now this div ID is bold, whereas this div ID is equals to italic. Now, how can we represent this ID in your CSS? Using the hash. Now, instead of div, I'm gonna say hash bold. So these particular properties are going to applied only for the div whose ID is bold. So let us see whether it is applying or not. Refresh. Yes, now you are able to see that particular stylings or the properties of CSS are applied for the div whose ID is bold, but it is not applicable for this one. Now I want to give some stylings to this div as well. So what we have to do, we have to write one more styling, right? So just copy it, enter, save. Now just change the name of your ID. I'm going to say it as italic. I want to change the background color, right? So from here I'm going to say something like lime green. Okay, and apart from that, all other properties I need the same properties. So save it. Now come to your browser and refresh it. Yes, now you are able to see some different color. In the same way, I want to represent all other content as well, right? So let's copy these things. Now what we want, we saw the bold, we saw the italic. I want something like underline, right? So just save it, and instead of that, just say U. And this time I don't want to give some different color. I want to give the color of bold, right? I want to give all the stylings of bold div. So I'm just changing the ID to bold, and I have changed the tag from I to U. U means underline, means this particular sentence should come with the underline. Save it and come to a browser. Yes, refresh, just drag it, come. Now you are able to see underline, and I want to change the name of this tag, right? Instead of italic tag, I want to say this tag belongs to underline. Save it, it comes to your browser, refresh. Once you have refreshed, now it's an underline tag, right? In the same way, I want to write some we will see, let's see the strike, as we will see the how we can strike out some sentences. So for that, I'm going to copy everything and just paste. for strikeout, we have the tag called yes, right? I'm gonna say yes, change this you as well, yes, and here I'm gonna say it's a strikeout tag. See, we have to do practical practice by mixing all the tags what we know. Then only you will get practice and you are able to remember the tags. This is how you have to practice. When you're using, like when you're practicing third session tags, you have to include the tags of second session as well as first session, so that it will get revised. And once you start using some tags 3 times, 10 times, 12 times, it is going to fit in your mind. This is how the people have to practice, have to understand how can I use the tags in different scenarios. Okay, so here you are able to generate your, like you can improve your logical skills as well, your styling skills. So you will be improved by doing such kind of practice only. So I'm going to save, instead of bold, this time I want to give italic. Just I'm alternating the colors, nothing further. You can give different colors, that's not a big deal. So just coming here and we are going to refresh and just bold, italic, underline tags, strike out. Now you are able to see some strikeout. This is what I wanted to explain about the strikeout. So now we saw the strikeout. Now let's see the superscript. Means now I want to write a square plus b square. How can we write a square plus b square? So for that we have the tag called superscript tag, that is nothing but sup. So I'm gonna say it as bold. Here we will be saying superscript tag. Okay, fine. Now instead of su we have to give the tag sup. No, we cannot give here, right? Let it be like yes. Now I want to write a square plus b square. So how can I write? So I'm going to take one more tag known as h3. Okay, now here I want to write a square plus b square. So a, now we want a square, right? That 2 should be inside your sup. Okay, now in this sup it should be 2. Now after a square plus b square we have the plus, then we have the b, then we have the again b square, right? So that 2 should come sup inside your sup. So now how it is going to print? It is going to print a, then it is going to see, okay, it is a superscript tag. So I need to make this 2 on the upper side, a square plus b square. So just refresh it and come to your browser, refresh. Yes, now you are able to see a square plus b square. This is how we write the mathematical equations in your HTML. So this is one tag. Now we have the last tag that is called subscript. So how can we write some chemical equations, right? Chemical equations. So for that, just I'm going to copy everything, paste it, right? Now here I'm going to say it as italic. And let me change it to sub. Okay, now instead of a square plus b square, I want to say this as h2o. So it should be sub sub. This is also sub. And let me remove all this. So it will be h2 and this is o. And just save it. Okay, everything is cool. Just come to your browser and refresh it. Now you can see subscript tag is like h2o. Now 2 is coming down. Now if you don't use sup or sub, how it is going to represent? It is going to represent something like h, then 2, then o. That is not the way to represent it, right? So this is how we can represent h2o. So this is all about your text formatting tags. So we have learned some text formatting tags, and these tags are very important because when you are going to represent some content on your web page, right, these text formatting tags are going to be very useful. You may have to highlight a particular text, right? So some way we have some more text formatting tags, right? The same way, just you have to go through the documentation. You have to just see, okay, this tag is used for this purpose, this tag is used for this purpose. As I am a like going to train you, so what I have trained, okay, this is how we have to use. I give some 5 examples, 6 examples of the text formatting tag. Apart from that, you have to learn many more text formatting tags. So how, where you are going to get, then you have to go for the documentation of HTML. So just go to your MDN. Okay, I think Santosh is posting in WhatsApp group that you have to go through this documentation. You have to go through this documentations, because you, when you guys go through that documentation, you are going to learn many more things. Okay, and this is how you have to get habituated, because once you get the job, once you start working, like if you just consider you have worked for 5 years. Okay, now after 5 years, some new technology has been emerged, or some new technology has been come. Okay, if a new technology has been come, your company is going to say, okay, Mr. Kabir, you have to update with this technology, because we are going to get a new project where we have to work this technology. So that time you cannot come to some institute or the college again learn the things, right? You have to learn by your own. So how can you learn? How can you understand the what things that particular technology is providing? How, what is the syntax they are using? So you have to read it. You have to understand that technology. So from where you have to start? You have to go to the documentation, because whenever a new technology is going to come, that people who have developed that particular technology is going to provide you the documentations, because already you have the 5 years of experience. Then you can easily understand that document, and you can understand about that technology. Then according to your requirement, you can utilize that particular technology. This thing is mandatory. You have to understand, and like you have to use it. This is the way you have to learn the things. Okay guys, so that's what I wanted to say. So we have learned something about the text formatting. Now just consider, so we have done with this particular thing. Now we have some requirements, like I have some data. In that data, I want to display the data in list formats. Like if I have the set of technologies, then I have to display that set of technologies in my web page. So how can I display, like 1 HTML, 2 React, 3 Angular, 4th Java, 5th Python? Like you have to give some number, or you have to give some bullet points, right? Suppose if you are writing something about HTML, now your requirement is you don't want it to write in paragraph, you wanted to write some points about HTML, like you want to write 5 points. So the first point you have to highlight with the bullet point, right? That black circle, right? So how can we do that, such things in HTML? That we have to understand. So for that we have unordered list and we have ordered list. We have some tags with the unordered list and ordered list. Unordered list tag is nothing but UL, right? In the same way, list order list tag is OL. Okay, now every unordered list contains some lists, it contains some items, right? Here your HTML is considered one item. Now suppose you want to represent some fruits name, so you have the bunch of fruits, like you have the apple, mango, banana, and you have the something like chiku, sapota, something. Okay, now you want to represent these fruits. Okay, so how you want to represent, in some sequence, or you just want to represent with some bullet points? So whenever you get a requirement where the sequence is not mandatory, it's not compulsory, or it's not required, then go for unordered list. If someone says, okay, now you have to go with the sequence, like if someone asks me, I wanted to learn a web technology, so how can I start? Then there is a proper sequence you have to learn. First you have to learn HTML, then you have to learn CSS, then you have to learn JavaScript, then you have to learn Bootstrap, then you have to learn the React. So this is the sequence, right? 1 2 3 4 5. I cannot say directly that first learn React, then learn CSS, then learn HTML. You cannot learn something like that. Now the requirement here is you have to give it in proper sequence. So if you get some requirement where you have to display some items or some points in a sequence, then you have to use this ordered list. So we have to represent order list for OL. Now every order list and order list will have the items. This all the fruits or technology names are considered as items. So these items we have to keep in this particular UL or OL tag. So how can we keep? So how can we represent a list inside your HTML using a tag called li? It's nothing but list item, and you have to write the your items name inside this, like for example HTML, and just close the list item. And this list item should be inside your UL or OL, like I have wrote in the UL. So in the same way I will be closing UL. Now when it comes to the case of your OL, we have to do the same. Just copy it and you have to paste here. So this is how we represent our order list and unordered list. So for that, let's create a file. Let's make it 04 and we'll be saying unordered list .html. Okay, now just consider I want to represent some technology names. So for that, first we require the structure of your HTML. So how can we develop this, give the structure of your HTML document? For that you have the shortcut known as doc. It means document, and click on tab button, tab button. Okay, we have clicked. Now I want to remove this particular thing, like I wanted to remove this meta tags. Okay, I have removed. Now I want to give a title like unordered list. So unordered list. Now I want to represent the list of some technologies, like some technologies. I don't want it should be in the sequence. I just wanted to represent. So for that, what we have to do, we have to write the UL. Okay, we wrote the UL. Now this everything should be in H3 so that it will look in big size. So just I'm keeping everything inside a H3. Okay, we have to the UL. Now inside UL, what we will have the item. So how can we represent the item with the tag called li? It means list item. Okay, what is my first list item? It's like HTML. Okay, fine. Now what is the second list item? Like I will be giving some 5 names. Okay, after HTML, I don't want to give CSS. I want to say my second item is React. And the third item would be Angular. Fourth item will be something like MongoDB and something like Express.js. Okay, save it, go to your browser. So click open in other browser and Chrome. Yeah, now you are able to see some items with the bullet points, like this is what the default bullet will come, but I don't want this time. I want circle, like there are only the circle. So for that, what we have to do, we have an attribute in the UL called type. Now you have to give the name called circle. Save it, comes to your browser, refresh it. Now you are able to see the circle. One more we have called rectangle. Save it, come to your browser. So we don't have any rectangle, right? That's why we are getting by default it is a disk. It's like a disk. So this is what we call the disk one. We have the disk, we have the circle, and one more thing, like if you don't want to give any points, you just wanted to display the list. So for that we have none. Save it. Actually we have one more thing, I'm not remembering it. Okay, now if you don't give anything, it is like none means it will not work, but by default every time it will come with the disk. Okay. Okay, fine. This is what all about your unordered list. So let's type everything. So I want to keep everything in the div. So how can we keep everything in the div? Just div. Okay, fine. We have understood how to keep inside a div. Now some stylings you want to give to the div. So how can you give? Again, you have to come to a head, then just type styles. Okay, styles div, and you have to give something like background color. I want to give something like, I don't know. Then color should be text white. I mean color should be white. Okay, done. Color is white. Padding should be some 10 pixel. Then I want margin as well. Margin should be 5 pixel. Okay, I want some box shadow. So box shadow should be something like 00 some 10 pixel black. Save it, comes to your browser and refresh it. Now this is like your none. So now I want to represent something like disk as well, right? So for that, what we have to do, just copy this particular div, and here I'm going to give disk. Save it, come to your browser, refresh it. Now you are able to see something like this. Still, instead of this 5 pixel, I want to change it to 10 pixel. That looks a little bit good. Save it, and in the same way I want to give circle as well. Now the type should be circle. Now we got the, and one more we have, that is square. Actually I wrote the rectangle, it's not rectangle, it's a square. So one more value we have to give like square. Yes, now this is a square. See, now in the first time you don't have any bullet points or something to represent as a list. In second you have the disk. In third you have the circle, and in fourth you have the squares. This is the squares. So now it depends upon you, so how you want. Okay, and by default if you won't give any type, or if you give some wrong name also, then it is going to take by default disk. So this particular format is called disk, and this is nothing but your unordered list. Now if I want to give some ordered list, right? Now I want to give some order list. So let's create one more file. Let's say 05, and it's like order list .html. Okay, now I want HTML structure. So for that, doc tab we got, and we have to remove this particular thing, and we'll be saying title should be your ordered list. Okay, fine. Now the same thing what we have to give. So just I'm going to copy some styles so that we cannot waste our time. So let's go to our ordered list. Just copy this one, come to our ordered list, and just paste here. Once you have pasted, then take your div as well, copy the div, come here. In your body part, I want to represent now this list in the format of ordered list. So for that, we have the tag called OL. Instead of UL, it's a OL. So we have to change from UL to OL. Okay. Now I want to give proper sequence. This is HTML, then you learn CSS, then you have to learn JavaScript, then you can learn BootStrap, then you have to learn React. Now, once you learned all these technologies properly, then you are called as a front-end developer, right? So we have saved it, and right click, go to your browser. Now you are able to see something like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, BootStrap, React with the sequence called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you don't want it to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to give A, B, C. So for that also we have a requirement. So for that, what we have to do? We have to come just copy this particular thing. How we have the types in unordered list, in the same way we have the types in ordered list as well. Now instead of none, here it's by default it is going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4. In ordered list, if you want to give A, okay, capital A, capital B instead of 1, 2, 3. So for that you have to give the type equals to capital A. Save it and comes to your browser. Now you are able to see capital A, B, C, D, E. Now you want to give small a. You don't want it to give the capital A. You want it to give the small a. So for that, what you have to do? Copy. Just come to your browser, paste, and you are going to say it has small a. Save it. Come to your browser, refresh. Now you are able to see small a, B, C, D. Now you want to give in Roman numbers, right? I hope everybody knows Roman numbers. So for that, we have to give the type Roman as capital I. Save it, come to your browser, refresh. Capital I, okay. Now just try small I as well. Save it, come to your browser, refresh. Now you are able to see small I. So small I, capital Romans, small alphabets, capital alphabets, and 1, 2, 3. And by default, it is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 if you are not going to mention any type. Okay, in unordered list, it is going to take your disk as a by default. So this all things about this is about your unordered list, this is about your ordered list, and this is about your text formatting. So guys, that's all for this session. I hope you have learned things like now text formatting, now ordered list, unordered list. So in next session we are going to see how to create a table in HTML. Now I want to display some information in table format. So how can I do? First of all, I have to create the table. How can I do some styling on table? How can I mix two rows? How can I mix two columns? All that things we are going to see in the next session. So that's all for this session, guys. Thank you for watching my video.